So, Aaron and Nate, appreciate you guys coming on to talk about the sexiest real estate topic in the world, closing costs. It's the most exciting topic. And if you've got questions about closing costs, call us 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. I want to first talk about seller closing costs with you, Aaron. And again, a lot of times people don't quite understand this. And it's interesting because, you know, I'll meet with homeowners who have sold 5, 6, 7 homes in the state of Florida, and they're still curious what the closing costs are going to be when they're pretty consistent outside of paying the buyer's costs.
Right.
So what does outside of real estate commission, what does a typical seller pay in closing costs? And you can quote it as your company charges, or, I mean, because I think a lot of the title companies have comparable fees. You know, you're promulgated, so you have to stay within certain ranges.
Right.
But what does the seller's typical closing cost look like?
You know, and before we answer that, it varies from county to county, state to state. So Florida, the majority of Florida, the norm is that the seller pays deed doc stamps and the owner's title insurance policy and the cost associated with producing that policy. Now that's Hillsborough, Polk, you know, the Bay Area basically. But there's Miami-Dade, for instance.
It's on the other side of the
It's
state.
on the other side.
And then new construction deals, a lot of times the buyer pays some of those costs.
Correct. So, you know, the norm is that the deed doc stamps are $7, you know, per 100. So, you know, $100,000, you're looking at $700 in deed doc stamps. The title insurance is a promulgated rate set by the state of Florida, and it's $5.75 per 100 up to 100,000, and then $5 of that up, you know, and above. So the doc stamps and the title insurance are the same pretty much everywhere you go. Then you've got your closing fee and your search. So okay. Those are where it varies a little bit, and you know, it may be $100 difference here and there, but the majority of us, of the title agents out there, pretty much.
What is that fee generally for? You know, so the search. What is that fee generally, or even if you just want to say what the fee is for you guys, just so people can kind of understand it.
Yeah, it's different now because everything's lumped in the same. You know, lumped the same. The closing fee and the search are. You know, back in the day there was the closing fee, the search, and the examination, and then the state got involved and said, all right, we're going to lump everything together. But normally you're going to be looking at somewhere between, you know, $300 and $500 on a closing fee, which includes your search and you know wiring fees or incidentals.
And then you're looking at the prorations. So they got to prorate the HOA fees and the taxes.
Correct.
So if you haven't paid your taxes through your, well, even if you have paid it through the mortgage, it has to be paid up to the date of closing, and you get it back from.
Yeah, and that's an important thing to say. You know, a lot of folks when you're looking at a bottom line figure. Well, your taxes, you know, if you got a $5,000 tax bill and you're selling your home in June, you know, and you're looking at that bottom line, you could be off $2,000 or $3,000 just by the tax proration.
Right.
Because you've got to remember, you're doing the right thing. Your fair share of that tax bill is from January 1 until the date of closing. Yep. So the seller is going to give a buyer credit for that.
Yep. And then if it's in their mortgage, they get it back once the mortgage has been paid off.
Correct.
The other thing I wanted to mention, and just kind of a rough figure that I've always used, you know, the doc stamps are 0.70, so they're you know 0.7%. The other fees seem to be anywhere from, you know, just to kind of give some people a general range. You know, I've always said somewhere between 1.5 to 2% of the purchase price is going to be your range of closing costs, and
right.
Assuming the buyer doesn't ask you to pay their costs. That's
Correct.
A whole separate conversation. But that range seems to help people at least have a good feel for knowing going into it what they're going to net out of it.
Yep.
Drilling down into the numbers and getting more specific.
Exactly.
So, and again, the title insurance part of it is promulgated. So there's some sort of process with Florida law where they say you have to charge a certain range. Is that right?
Correct. The promulgated rate is set by the state of Florida. So
okay.
they tell us what to charge. Now, where you can get credits and reissues and stuff like that, or is if you've sold your home within the last 3 years, you get a reissue rate on that title insurance. So you'll save a few dollars there. On refis, you know, when you refinance, the same thing. You'll get a reissue rate on that. And then there's some other discounts that are out there for, you know, new home builders. There's something called a new home discount. There's another one called a substitution rate. So you've got all these different things. So, but the norm that most everyone knows about is the reissue rate.
Okay, great.
And it's kind of like flood insurance. Like, you know, basically in the state of Florida, you know, they control the rates for flood insurance. So if you go to 10 different insurance agents, theoretically, if you're getting the same coverage quotes, you should get 10 of the exact same quotes if you're getting flood insurance for your home. Title insurance is very similar to that, from what I understand.